The cabin my grandfather built sits on a ridge overlooking Willow Creek, a slice of Tennessee wilderness where the air smells of cedar and the water runs clear as a mirror. He always said this land had a pulse, not a loud one, but a quiet, steady thrum you feel when the world hushes. He carved this place from the forest with his own hands, felling trees, stacking logs, and hammering nails until it was a sanctuary. When he passed it to me, he left one rule: never let anyone make you feel small on your own ground. That was my vow, and I meant to keep it. It was a crisp October morning in 2024, the kind where the mist clings to the valley and the sunlight cuts through the pines like a blade. I was on the porch, sipping black coffee, the steam curling in the chill. The creek glittered below, and the only sounds were a hawk's cry and the faint crackle of eggs frying inside. This was my haven, a fortress against the chaos of the world. I'd made sure of it. The steel gate I'd welded myself stood like a sentinel at the end of the drive, 6 feet of iron scrollwork, locked tight with a keypad, and backed by 4 high-def cameras streaming to my phone and a monitor in my den. I wasn't just hiding, I was prepared. At 9:42 a.m., the peace shattered. A heavy pounding echoed from the gate, not a polite knock, but a demand, like someone beating a war drum. I set my mug down, the eggs forgotten, and checked the monitor. A black SUV sat outside, and there was Ellen Marsh, the HOA president, flanked by her husband, Greg, and a small crowd. Greg rapped the gate again, the metal singing under his knuckles. I called out, "Don't touch my gate." He smirked and hit it harder. Ellen leaned forward, peering toward the cabin. "Is the keypad working?" she asked, like she was checking into a resort. I tapped my phone, and the cameras chirped, making half the group jump. "Works fine," I said. Neighbor Tim rolled up on his bike, eyeing the scene. "What's this, a block party?" he muttered. I didn't laugh. Greg grabbed a bar and shook it, testing my work. "Quarter-inch steel, Greg," I said. "You'll break before it does." Ellen raised her clipboard like a scepter. "James, this is about community spirit. We're hosting the annual fall festival here today, 150 guests, catered, pontoon boats on the creek. I sent you the notice." I stared. "You don't have my email. I'm not in your HOA. This is private land." She tapped her clipboard. "We've got you reserved. Unlock the cabin and clear the creek by noon." The audacity hit like a slap. My land, my grandfather's legacy, booked for a party I didn't consent to. "Ellen," I said, my voice low, "this isn't a community center. It's my home." Greg's face reddened, his jaw tight. "Just open the gate, man. Ellen's doing something nice." I looked at the iron bars between us, my line in the sand. I pulled the gate shut, the clang ringing like a gong. 2 locks snapped into place, one a deadbolt I'd salvaged from an old vault. Ellen's smug look faltered. "This land is mine," I said. "Have a nice day." Then the vans arrived, spilling out partygoers in flannel and boots, phones already recording. My quiet ridge turned into a circus. Ellen spun to her audience, her voice syrupy. "Mr. Carter's confused about the community bylaws, but we have a permit." She waved a paper with a county seal of fake, but a good one. Most would have backed down, but I knew better. Paper lies as easily as people. I fetched my deed from the safe, along with the 2019 county amendment that carved my land out of the HOA's grip. Back at the gate, the crowd had grown. Tim shrugged helplessly. Greg paced, fists clenched. I held up my deed for the cameras and the crowd. "This says it's mine. This," I pointed to the amendment, "says the HOA has no say. Your party's canceled." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Someone muttered, "Wasn't this public land once?" I pointed to the amendment. "Sold off 5 years ago. Private now." Ellen snapped her fingers. "Call the county clerk. Tell them Mr. Carter's obstructing." I recited my parcel number and amendment code from memory. The guy on the phone froze. "He knows the numbers," he mumbled. Ellen laughed, sharp and brittle. "That's an old document, James. Things change." A sheriff's cruiser rolled up, lights off. Deputy Ryan stepped out, calm but firm. "What's going on?" Ellen pounced, shoving her permit at him. "He's blocking our community event." Ryan scanned her paper, then frowned at the fake seal and typo-ridden signature. He turned to me. "Your side." I handed over my deed and amendment. "Private property. That permit's a fantasy." He radioed dispatch, confirming my parcel was exempt and no permits existed. Ellen's smile froze. Ryan handed her paper back, marked void in red. "You're on private land, ma'am. Clear the road." The crowd grumbled, some laughing, others glaring at Ellen. But Greg didn't move. His eyes burned, fists white-knuckled. I stayed by the gate, close enough for the cameras to catch everything. "This isn't over," he growled. "You humiliated my wife." I shrugged. She humiliated herself with a fake permit. That was the spark. As Ryan turned to direct traffic, Greg swung a fast, dirty punch through the bars, catching my cheekbone. Pain exploded, hot and sharp. I stumbled, but didn't fall, blood trickling. The cameras caught it all. The swing, the impact, my restraint. Ryan spun at the clang, cuffing Greg in seconds. "You're done," he said, reading Greg his rights as Ellen shrieked. He was defending me. The crowd filmed, their glee palpable. Greg's arrest was the party they didn't expect. EMS arrived, checking my swelling chino breaks, just a brutal bruise. My neighbor Lisa, a nurse, took over, her eyes sharp with concern. "Sucker punch through the bars?" she asked. I nodded. "Caught on 3 cameras." She insisted on documenting everything, snapping photos and writing a medical report. "These people escalate," she warned. "Do this right." We filled out a restraining order against Greg, her precision grounding my anger. As she left, she smiled. "For a guy with a fortress, you sure attract trouble." I grinned, wincing. Trouble's persistent. That night, sleep wouldn't come. The pain throbbed, and Greg's fist flashed in my mind. At midnight, Camera 4 Pinita box truck parked outside, unloading a canopy, chairs, and heaters on the public right-of-way. Ellen's handiwork, a spiteful party setup to mock my privacy. I recorded it all. Timestamps, license plates, the crew's quiet efficiency. I called the sheriff's non-emergency line, linking it to Ryan's report. An hour later, a deputy issued tickets for obstruction and illegal dumping, taping them to the canopy. "The caterer's in for a bad day," he said. By dawn, a county crew dismantled it all, leaving only tire tracks. I filed the restraining order and visited Lisa's clinic for official photos. Then I dug into my HOA junk binder, a decade of their misdirected notices. A 2020 newsletter caught my eye. Parcel 12C, Carter, is private, sold off in 2019. Respected. Ellen, then a board member, would have known. Her lie was deliberate. I hired my grandfather's lawyer, M.S. Thompson, who devoured my evidence deed, amendment, videos, and the newsletter. Then an anonymous email arrived, pointing to 2019 HOA minutes where Ellen, as secretary, recorded the sale of my land. A second email leaked her recent exchange with the HOA's lawyer, warning her to stop. She'd replied, "I'll take it under advisement." Fraud, plain and simple. Ms. Thompson sent a demand letter to the HOA board, excluding Ellen, with every piece of evidence attached. It threatened a lawsuit against the board for negligence. Panic ensued. At an emergency meeting, Ellen's bluster crumbled as the board saw her lies exposed. They voted to strip her authority, ban Greg, and settle with me. The agreement was ironclad, a non-interference covenant, reimbursement of my costs, and a newsletter retraction. A week later, I held the signed documents and a check. At the gate, with Deputy Ryan present, I laminated my deed's key page and fixed it to the bars, reading the exemption aloud. Ellen and Greg stood defeated, barred by the restraining order. The neighbors dispersed, whispering. It was done. Now, the creek's quiet hums again. I sip coffee with Lisa, the gate shut, cameras vigilant. "Think they learned?" she asks. "The board did," I say. "Ellen?" "Doubt it." My grandfather's words echo. "No one makes me small here." I fought with iron, paper, and truth, and won. What would you have done at that gate? Would you have opened it to avoid the fight, or stood your ground like James? Is Ellen a villain, or just misguided? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you felt the tension, and subscribe for more stories where the little guy fights back.